individual stop-loss insurance to handle that. But, you know, it's those large claims that puts pressure on the fund. And I still watch the cash. You know, I have to keep a close eye on it. December, I believe, our claims for the month of December was $635,000 that, you know, hit our bank account. It's a little bit lower than November was. November was like 690-ish, but I'd like to see them below that.
You want 200 to 300, right?
Pardon?
Did you want 200 to 300?
A
thousand,
month?
yeah. If you had a claims month, what would be the magic?
Well, the average monthly projected is 580. So in other words, we've funded the program to come up with, you know, an average of 580,000 a month. And so, you know, when you're having months that are greater than that amount, that's where you start, you know.
But your 635 is based on 1 month, so there might be other months when the fiscal year is over that were under 580.
We've only had
so
2 months.
That are
And
over.
then 4 months were over that.
So
Right. Because the first
Wow.
month, July, that was a $735,000 month. And we expected that because even though the Board of Ed teachers all switched to the high deductible health plans, we were still dealing with the incurred but not reported claims at the end of the
From
fiscal
June.
year, meaning they get paid, they happen on or before June 30th, but they don't actually get paid until after. So the first 60 days, we expected the claims to be a little on the high side. And so, and they were. But then, see, July and August, September and October were good months. They were in the $500,000 range. But then November, you know, went back up, and December came back down, but it's still over 600,000.
yeah.
And this month, so far, we're tracking. It'll be either somewhere between, you know, it'll be, you know, 500,000-600,000. That's the way we're tracking month to date, but that can change,
And it's budgeted at 580?
It sounds like we need to budget for more.
right?
Well, there's
Well,
really
because what they do every year when they do a renewal for us is they go back and they do a review of the prior year, and they come up with, you know, a projected amount. But then, you know, sometimes if you just don't know what's going to happen when it comes to health
Right.
issues.
Right.
So we're watching.
So we're watching, and it you know, it ties back to that bad catastrophic year that we had a couple fiscal years ago, and we just haven't been able to recover from that. So
Thank you.
For this summary slide that you present us every month,
Yes.
you've always got the actuals. Can you put plan or estimate or something there so we can kind of see which accounts or which elements are running above and below what we would expect them to be?
on what, the summary?
Yeah.
But but if you look at like the
It's in the
the
detail.
revenue account status report,
Mhm.
that there's a column that shows that for
She just
revenue.
picks off the highest ones.
Okay.
I just,
So
for
it just
this, I'm
take
just,
this
You're
and
just
dive
taking
into
it from
that.
the other.
Okay. Okay.
this was done based on your request, Lisa, correct? To highlight those
Big-ticket
items, the big ticket items, just to
Right,
call our
just to look at
attention
it at a
to
glance.
it.
It was-
Yeah, the percent
Yeah.
used, I think, is one of the things that I
It's
think we've
helpful.
said before. Yeah, but this is different as the year goes on, the percent used, depending on what part of the season we're in. We're expecting some things to be higher than
Right.
lower. It's not necessarily 3/4 of the year. You don't expect everything to be
Not everything's a
spent
linear
3/4.
burn-off.
Yeah.
Right, because there's
Right.
quarterly payments or whatever.
Some of them are seasonal and things like that, and I'm just trying to.
Well, you know what?
equate-
It brings up a good point. Sometimes I struggle with saying, all right, so where are we having issues? I
Yeah.
can't always tell by looking.
That's-
That's why I
Areas of
ask you.
concern. Okay, so areas of concern.
Right, areas
Okay.
of concern.
So, police overtime.
Mhm.
Right now, my projection is that they will be coming back for, say, 35,000. That's, if I look at what we've expended fiscal year to date, and what, going back and looking at a prior year for January through June, it looks like they'll need $35,000. They requested, I think, a $300,000 budget, it was reduced to 280,000 during the budget process. However, what we also did is we increased what our contingency account has, so that in the event that they needed the overtime, they could come back and make the request. And that was done so
Yeah.
that they would have to provide a certain, a level of accountability to the
yeah.
board. And so, looking at the numbers, I mean, 49,000 in the month of December, I mean, that was a large month, but they're also going
Is that
through
the
where
light
they
parade?
have several officers out, and so they need to bring the others in for the overtime, so that, that's what creates the overtime. And the other thing I had mentioned, with the annual required contribution for the pension plan, it was under budgeted this year, and it was because of the way the investment returns fluctuated, and last year we had a decrease, and so I was basing my projections for this year using that number, and ended up budgeting lower. I'm watching that department, which is 114, where we budget several of our fixed costs, with the hopes that I can make up that deficit from within the department and not have to come back. And the other item that I always watch are legal fees, and right now we're tracking okay, but that can always, that's always subject to change. When we put the budget together, we look at our historical information and just try to come up with the best projection we can for the new year. The fire department accounts right now, they're doing okay. But those are other areas where we do tend to
But to Bill's
struggle.
point, when we look at these, it's hard to tease out where we may have issues, because it isn't a linear burn-off rate. We don't have anything to
So-
compare it to, and we want to try to,
Well, one thing you can do when you look at the reports, in every department, the payroll accounts, if you look at, like, on the first page, the selectmen's department, so it's
where are you?
on the expenditure report like this.
Okay,
So if you look at the selectmen's department,
yep,
like, all the, like, 1, 2, 3, the fourth column of numbers, you see that they're all 100s,
the fourth column of numbers.
right?
That says net expended?
I'm looking at the account number.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha.
Okay, so see how, like, the fourth column of numbers are all 100s?
Yep.
That designates that that's a payroll account.
Okay,
So at the end of December, our payroll accounts should all be at 50%. So if they're over 50%, then that's indicating a potential problem.
mm-hmm,
So, like, for example, if you go and you look at the police payroll, if you go on page 20 of that report, and you look at the overtime account, the
Mhm.
overtime account ends
Oh.
in 514, it's 62%.
okay.
So for a payroll account, that's a flag.
That's
Although
good
if
to
you
know.
look at the boat,
So that's-
if you look at the boat duty account, that's at 78%. Well, that's to be expected because
Because we're
the
in
boat
winter.
patrols are in the summer months.
Fiscal year starts in July, and
Yeah,
most
so-
of it's in
so,
the summer, right?
you know,
Okay.
So
So
that
that's
makes
kind of
sense.
how, I mean, that's for the payroll accounts. I realize for the other operating accounts, it can be a little,
No, but I didn't know that.
so anyways, at least for the payroll accounts, you can, judge by those. But like the other budget accounts, I scan the report myself and I look to see if
I
anything
didn't know
looks
if it
out of.
made sense to go back to 2015 and look at every year what % complete you were. I mean, for us, that's what we do, is we talk about % complete, but I mean, it's like, I'm just trying to, without you telling me what the pressure points are, just trying to look at this and understand.
But that's kind of like on the summary, I kind of do that on the year-to-date totals. So if you look at the year-to-date totals on the expenditures, last year they were at 52%.
Right.
And this year, they're at
You should
46.45.
give it to us here.
So, I mean,
Where-
that's,
Where was that? You just
As
said
the-
that-
as the
that's
summary.
on
That's
the
a good
summary
number.
report.
That's on,
It's on the summary sheet, Pete.
Right, yeah, so, I mean, that's indicated on the summary report.
year-to-date total, and
Like Board of Ed is, this year's 38.75. Last year, they were already at 44%.
Yes.
So it would
Okay,
beg the
okay.
question, you know, what's that about? I mean, that's 6% different out of a pretty big budget. A couple $1 million less. I don't know if we know anything, if that has any.
I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
But that would tell you that they're spending at a lower rate this year, which
Right.
is all good.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
it
that-
is.
That's
what
the
I'm trying
big
to do
red
is just
flag,
a
yeah.
general kind of from 60,000 feet, where's the pressure points?
right.
And then dive in from there. And that's why I thought if there was, you know, some kind of, I got it. I'll figure something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because I was trying to figure this out, and it looked like the ones that were way over were smaller budgets, so I didn't see anything other than the overtime.
Any more questions at that end
Not
of the
that I would
table?
ask on TV.
Okay, Anna, I do have a couple of questions. Could you repeat for me, I know I've asked this question before, the rules regarding inter-department transfers versus intra-department transfers?
So if it's within, if they're transfers within the same department, you make a request, the first selectman signs off on them, and those are the ones that the boards have provided lists to ratify them. So in other words, like in finance department, I make a transfer between one account in my department to another account.
Right, so say between overtime and office supplies.
Correct.
But you don't, if it's within your department, you don't have to come to us for approval of that?
Those are the lists that we give you to ratify.
Okay, so for example, if I look at page 8 on the detail expenditure, I see that in, I don't know if this is building 113, it says custodians. There's $4,300 coming out of the heating and oil propane. I think this is building services department 113.
It is, right, you're correct.
And then it's going into building maintenance. So did we ratify that?
No, because I wait until I have several and do the list.
Okay, so shouldn't we do that before it actually gets done, is my question? Shouldn't we ratify it before
Before you
the,
transfer.
Well, that's why you're ratifying. You're not approving them, you're ratifying them, meaning that you're approving them after the fact.
so I'm not really sure I understand the,
Definition of
the
ratifying.
value of that, thank you,
Well, ratifying
Lisa.
is after the act occurred.
So,
Correct.
It's
so
like more of accounting, right? In terms of,
we're giving our blessing, but what if we don't give our blessing?
well, I don't know, well, it's still a budget amount of $1. And they took that dollar and put 20 cents here, 20 cents there, and it's like, okay, it really didn't work out. They needed that 10 cents to go over there. I wouldn't want them to come back and get approval from us to put that 10 cents, because they're not spending more money. It's just that they estimated or whatever in their projections. They're not spending outside of their budget.
Yeah, see, personally, the way that we've adopted, going forward with approving budgets is we're not so much concerned about line item expenditures, particularly if it's within a department. So is that part of the town charter that we have to ratify that, or is that something that can be changed where we don't?
There's language in the charter, and that's
Is
why
there-
we
And
bring
it's
them to
probably
the boards to.
good practice, right? In
to-
terms of best practices, even if it's already occurred, it's just kind of tying up whatever.
Correct.
Personally, I think it's pointless, but,
I agree. I think if it's already done and it's behind us and the department manager gets paid good money to manage his budget internally, for me to say you're doing a good job seems like maybe we
But
need to
there is-
just,
There's
maybe
a
we need
charter
to,
provision, that's
so maybe
why
we need
do
to
it
just
that way.
summarize them all at the end of the year or something, and just a housekeeping
I
kind
think you
of
kind of
thing.
do anyway.
And we
don't you?
do.
Yeah,
I-
they don't do it.
Yeah,
well, so it happens a little more than once per year.
It's
But
more
it never
so
s-
at the end of the year.
Right.
Because the volume.
Well, now, so that's
That's when
my
you gotta
next
balance
question.
the
Now,
books.
with inter-department, that was intra, just line item to line item within a department. But now if we want to move money, say, from contingency, that has to happen, say contingency to another department's,
You must approve that
before
Prior to
it
it's done.
happens.
Absolutely.
And that can only happen 90 days before the end of the fiscal year? Or 60 days? Or when can that happen, at any point?
We do it at any
Well,
point.
with contingency, but what is,
Oh, the other departments, we do it the last, after April 1st of the fiscal year.
Well, we're
It's-
doing them tonight, right? We're doing
But that's
transfers
from-
tonight.
That's from the payroll contingency account.
So contingency is one thing, but we're talking about,
Right.
let's
Oh,
say that,
from one department to
let's say
another.
that building services is, under
Correct.
budget in a certain area, but another department is over budget. To move money from one, say, Department 113 to 114, that needs prior approval
Correct.
before that's done.
Correct.
But those types of transfers are reserved until after April 1st of each year.
Yes.
So you could see in the reports
Oh.
that something is over budget for a month or two. And what would happen after April 1st is that we would then approve the transfer of those funds to make it look like everything was within budget, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But but it's not coming out of contingency, or it's not coming out of
Right.
a pot. It's still within that expenditures of $7. It's still $7, but now it's like you said, it's transferred between 8 budget departments from non-contingency accounts, from other budget departments.
So you keep track of that all year until April, and then you do the wash, if you will, right? Bring to us and say, here's where we're out of whack, because it happens, we all have that in our own homes. And here's where this budget is low, this one's high. You accrue them all, and then come April, you come to us.
Well,
Is that how that works?
Well, typically, when it's going from one department to another, they come as a single request.
Yeah.
They don't come like all together.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't make my question clear. I meant like, let's say there's 5 departments that are under and 4 that are over or something, and you're moving money. You have to do that. You have to move it around so that so it all works out in the wash. You keep track of that, and then come April, you come through and you say these 3 budgets are down. I'm going to get money from
Correct.
here because we're over. I do it at my own home, but what I'm saying is you wait until April to do that.
Correct.
Okay, I didn't understand that. Yeah, thanks, good question.
Okay. So do you happen to know, there is a group of people that work on the charter revision every so many years?
Well,
Do you-
that's an appointment by the Board of Selectmen.
And do you happen to know if that's coming up, or if that's recently
I
been
don't
done?
think it's a regular basis. I think when somebody decides they want a charter revision, I've been on it before, and I think it's just, I don't think it's a every
It's
2
not
years
regular.
thing. I think
It's
it's
whenever
It's
the
when there's
spirit
an
moves them.
issue.
Right.
Yeah. I guess I just don't want to lose that particular,
And the
Item.
charter revision,
Item.
the charter revision, I think, has to go on the ballot, and it has to be elected by everybody in the town's got to vote on.
yeah. Well, you
yes,
certainly
or no.
want to do a charter revision for just that one item, but I'm trying to not lose sight of that one item in
Got
the
a big
greater
bucket.
scheme of
Yeah.
things,
Right.
if that's
Does
something.
somebody gather open items
Yeah.
for a charter revision?
Yes, because when we had the charter revision, they had a list of things that they wanted us to look at, and I was the chairman of the land use board, and they gave me a list of things that were germane to land use, and we were debating them.
Well,
There
Mark
was-
may know how that's
Yeah.
managed.
So
Maybe we
who
can
owns
keep it on the
charter
agenda
revision?
and just ask
Charter
him.
revision has to be a governance issue that the Board of Selectmen decides that they want to do, and then they have to figure out, looking at the charter and taking suggestions from wherever,
Yeah.
the public or
that-
whatever,
yeah.
what
So-
exactly they want to do, how they want to limit the scope, determine the scope of the charter revision so that they're, prior to appointing members to the Charter Commission, there is a scope of work so that people don't go all over the place. That the board has decided is relevant, it needs to be looked at, and then they wait for the, and the public knows too exactly what those items are that are gonna be looked at.
So if
we're
they're-
stuck with this
Exactly might be a
ratified
little
thing
bit,
for a while.
So we should have a tickler
That's the
file,
bottom line.
and somebody should maintain that tickler file.
Did you just volunteer to do that?
No, I volunteered Anna to do that.
Do you want
Just-
to put it under old business and just?
Well,
No,
what
I
I
think
can
it
No,
goes
I
in this
just
Board
think
of
we need to have a
Selectmen's-
tickler
Yeah, but there's not
file
anybody
that,
that
that
does it,
says
is what I'm
when
saying.
the next
That's all
charter
it is.
revision happens, we think that it may be pointless to have to ratify interdepartmental
Right.
line
Well,
item
I have-
transfers.
I can just like put something in the front of the book that I keep all the Board of Finance minute items in that
Mhm.
way. It'll
Yeah.
be there every time I open the book, and
Okay.
if it ever comes up,
Whatever
it'll be a
works.
reminder.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would be great, because I would never remember that, and if the board turns over after the next election, it might get lost, so I think
Mhm.
you're actually the perfect person to keep track of that. Okay. Any other questions for the finance director? Okay, with that, we'll move on to new business. Transfer from payroll contingency 2016-17 COLA non-affiliated employees for $55,052.
So, the Board of, the cost of living increases for non-affiliated employees was approved by the Board of Selectmen at their meeting in June. So that happened subsequent to this year's budget process. So these are the transfers that are necessary to fund those, so that you'll see that information when you receive the proposed budgets in that amended column.
So that will eliminate the question that comes up every year about how come the number is different than,
Correct.
okay. That would be helpful.
We'll still ask that question.
I know, but it might match up. You don't know me. That's okay.
But my question specifically is because of the timing issue, the increase actually goes into effect as of January 1st.
July 1st.
July 1st.
Correct.
Say, July 1st, 2016.
Yes.
So how does that work in the payroll? Do people get, what's the word I'm looking for?
Retroactive.
Trued up? Do they get trued up for the
Retroactive.
retroactive pay?
Retroactive.
We
They
that.
do.
But in this situation, it was approved on June 15th, so we were able to implement it when it was due.
So any retro was only a few weeks in June?
There was no,
None.
because it was, the board approved the cost of living increases for the 16-17 fiscal year. It wasn't effective June 15, it was effective for July 1st.
Mhm.
good.
So we were able to make all the changes so that when everyone was paid, they were paid the correct amount they were due as of July 1st. It becomes retro when, let's say, we had a contract that was just ratified and it was effective July 1st. Well, from today, we would have to go all the way back to July 1st and pay that group of employees
Mhm.
their retroactive pay amounts.
Mhm. Okay. Good.
I will move to transfer $10,067 from account 01-01-
Oh,
No.
You're
We're
reading
doing
item B.
Oh,
We're
doing
on item A.
dispatchers.
Sorry.
Okay.
Move to approve a transfer in the amount of $55,052 from account 01-01-120-100-500, town payroll pending PR change to various budget line items as itemized on the attached worksheet titled Town of East Lyme Unaffiliated COLA Increases July 1st, 2016 to 6/30/2017, additional funding required.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Next item of new business is transfer from payroll contingency dispatchers wages contract for $10,067.
So it's the same,
Same.
you know, the same situation. The Board of Selectmen approved the agreement between the town and the dispatchers at their September 7th meeting. And so this is what's required to fund the wage increase, which was 2.5%.
Okay, any questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to transfer $10,067 from account 01-01-120-100-500 contingency pending PR change to the amount, to the account 01-25-224-100-212 dispatchers to fund local 1303-436 Council 4 AFS CME dispatchers agreement.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Which brings us to old business, first topic being the Board of Finance bylaws. Okay, so, I guess, did everybody have a chance to review the draft?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we will, one by one, I guess raise your hand if you have questions or suggestions for changes.
So I'm sorry.
Raise your hand.
Raise my
Raise
hand.
your
Don't
hand.
worry.
Raise my hand.
No, I
You
think,
raised it.
We're, Bill, chill out, we're friends. No,
Okay, Bill, you have the floor.
jerk.
The,
And I have to share with you, Lisa.
Just kidding.
I'm sorry, because
kidding.
I didn't bring my
Go ahead.
draft. I have to share.
the minutes that you were talking about, what I was talking about last meeting was, did you look at any other East Lyme boards and commissions? It wasn't, did you not look at any other boards and commissions? It was just the internal to the, East Lyme, because it seemed to me like we wanted continuity between all the boards and commissions, and that's kind of what I was getting at last meeting. So I went.
So I did not look at any other bylaws for any other boards of commissions other than the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, so that's.
That is
that's
all
what-
true.
That's what that conversation was about last week. So I went and tried to research this week, past week, whatever, and there's not many.
Yeah.
There's, it seemed like we thought that all the boards and commissions except for us had bylaws.
That's not
and
the case?
That's not the case, or at least they're not available where anybody can find them.
And you went to the town clerk?
Went to the town clerk, right, so we found a couple.
And what did you find?
I found, beyond other towns, I think I have them all here. Planning, and Board of Selectmen, and I think that's it. Colchester, other towns. Board of Finance is the one that you proposed, and that's all I could find. That's all we could find, that's all the town clerk's office could find.
Mhm.
So my expectation was that I would find a series of them and try to get a similar format, because it seemed to me like this format and this format was inconsistent, so there would be a standard format.
Mm.
Good.
There's not. If I go out and I look at other towns, because the other thing I looked at is like, this seemed like it was pretty weighty compared to this.
Mhm.
There are towns out there that have bylaws that are bizarre,
Right.
so.
And that would be the case when they want to supersede what was written in Robert's Rules or the general statutes, Chapter 106.
And some of them are wordy, and they're more written like a how-to document as opposed to whether here's some bullets to follow, right? Yours is kind of bullets, and here's some kind of high-level things that we do and how we do them and stuff like that.
So I think everybody understands that that our bylaws are intended to indicate how we want to conduct our meetings that vary from other established methods of running a meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
So anything that's an exception
So
to the
that's why it
charter,
should be very small.
anything that's an exception to the charter, anything that's an exception from the state, anything that's an exception from Roberts, it's all by exception. So anyway, that's what I did, is I went out and I tried to get some research at the same time I was doing the purchasing policy, at the same time I was doing the school structure, because I wanted to get into other schools that were doing really well and see what they were doing with their buildings. So, bottom line, I'm not done. I went through and started looking at the way that you worded this. Some of the things I wanted to talk about, like, for example, you say we prepare the town budget. Do we prepare the town budget? We kind of take all the inputs from all the department heads and we review and we critique, we assemble, and then we